My credit wasn't the greatest. I'm a single mom. I didn't have a car. I'm using my grandma's car. I lived in South Sacramento. I'm driving to Rancho Cordova every Sunday to pick people up for church. And I promise you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know that that's why I'm as blessed as I am, is because I am a giver. I am a server at heart. When I sit back and I'm just quiet and still, I'm like, dang, God, like, you really have blessed me. And I know that you have blessed me because of the principles that I have learned from, sitting under the leadership that I have. So.
Today's video is gonna be about Brandy Moore. She purchased her first home ever. And this is her story. Check it out.
My name is Brandy, and I have been looking for a home since about January of 2021. It took me about a year for the entire process, but it took me about 8 or 9 months to get qualified. And being in the pandemic, it really just made me think about life and about generational wealth, for me and my kids. What happens if something was to happen to me? What would I be able to leave for my kids? Would my kids have a legacy or would I not? Then I just started doing the numbers in my head. Like, honestly, I'm paying for the home that I was paying. I was most likely paying the mortgage on that home plus my landlord's mortgage. So when I started looking at the numbers, I was like, I could be investing this money in myself. To me, or now I've realized that purchasing a home is an investment. It's not just, oh, me and my kids have a place to stay, but it's actually an investment for us all. I got introduced to you by my friends, Aaliyah and LaRon Harris. They are the ones who actually introduced me to you. They told me, no, my realtor is legit. No, my realtor is legit. Like, he's a Christian. My realtor is legit. From the moment that you and I had our first interaction, it just was like, it clicked. And then I had to realize, like, oh, dang, like, I need to make sure he's NACA qualified as well. And then when you told me that you were, I was like, it's a green light. Let's go. Like, after the first time that we were able to look at a house, I was like, Chia is the homie. Chia is family. But you always made me feel comfortable. What really, to me, set you apart from stories that I have heard is you honestly care. If it was in a neighborhood, nah, I'm not with that. I'm not, you're a family person. Your family won't park here. I know it was a couple of homes that we saw and I was like, nah, I kind of like the area. He was like, no, I don't like the area. But you not only told me that you didn't like the area, but you gave me concrete evidence as to why you didn't like the area. And that set me apart, or set you apart to me, because it automatically let me know that you weren't in this for a dollar. Like, you literally cared about me and my kids. You didn't want to just set us up for something that was garbage or something that was trash. Like, you literally cared. You wouldn't want your family, you wouldn't live here. This wouldn't be something that you would do. So that really made me feel like, nah, like, Chia is the business. He is the homie because he actually cares. So I think it took so long for the entire process because my situation was a little unique. I did have stuff that I had to pay off of my credit. I did have stuff that I had to do in order to become eligible to even be pre-qualified. So that was that barrier. Then after we get past the pre-qualification barrier, the market in California right now is bananas. But as I'm learning, it's not just California, it's nationwide. I can't tell you how many homes we looked at, how many homes we put offers in. We were aggressively looking. We were aggressively putting in offers. We were willing, to remove some conditions, but not all. And it still took the amount of time that it did just because of the market.
When you're buying a home for the first time in this market, you have to set the right expectations. It's gonna take you like up to 5 months to find your home. If you're submitting offers and if you're out there looking at homes with your agent, setting the right expectation is so key in this market. Otherwise, you're just gonna shoot yourself in the foot.
In the midst of that, I just was like, are you kidding me? But deep down, I knew that my home was out there. I knew that it wasn't gonna be like, oh, you go to your first house and this is it. But I don't think that I was prepared for how long it was gonna take or what it actually, took to to find your house. But I'm so happy that we made it. Like, like we accomplished it. We did it. So in the interim of that, I felt like, okay, another one bites the dust. But like, I knew that my home would be out there. So I just knew that we had to keep plugging away. And to be honest, even with this house, even when we came to look at it, it wasn't my first pick looking for homes. It's compromise, especially if you're going in knowing that this is not my forever home. I realized that you have to take some compromise. And I believe that the compromise is that I chose were phenomenal for me and my family.
There was this one time, me and Brandy, we went out to go look at homes. And she looked super frustrated. And I had no idea what it was. So I asked, hey, what's going on?
My nephew was kind of diagnosed with a sickness, like in the middle of me looking for a home. And my family is a really tight-knit family. So I was like, what the heck? And so I considered moving out of state. Then I actually started thinking about it. Like, I have this pre-approval. This pre-approval is good for 3 months and 3 months only. Like, it started getting real. It made me look within myself. Like, I understand my family is extremely tight-knit, and I'll go to the ends of the earth for them in the means that I can. But I also had to look and think about me and my family and what making a decision was gonna be. Like, this established us, it anchored us. Like, we know that we're here and we know that we're good. We can, if we need to, we can travel to where we need to. So it really made me reevaluate my life and even the role that I have in my family. And that role doesn't have to change. The role just might look different.
When Brandy told me she wasn't going to Vegas anymore, I resumed sending her homes. And we started going back out there, and we came across this fully renovated home. Super nice. Everything was done, but there was one issue with it.
What my issue is that I have younger kids, and it's an extremely busy street. And I'm a family person, so how's my family gonna enter into my home? I still just said, no, you know what, we won't put an offer in on it. But then nobody has submitted an offer for it. At that point, it was like, okay, some things are just too good to be true, and some offers you just can't pass up. And that's absolutely what it was. So when I found out that no other offers were submitted, I did exactly that and submitted the offer, and here we are.
When the seller's agent reached out to me asking if we were still interested in this home, I called Brandy up right away. So my tip to first-time homebuyers out there: if you are out there every day with your agent, looking at homes, submitting offers aggressively, a seller could call your agent and say those same words they told us. Are you still interested in the home?
So when we finally went into escrow, it was a little nerve-wracking. I wasn't prepared for the timeline of what it took from the time that we went into contract onward. I just know that the situation was my situation was different because I was basically going through a third party.
When you're utilizing a down payment assistance program such as SHRA, CalHFA, NACA, you have to expect some level of delays. In a traditional lending, there's only your loan officer and then the banks. When you're dealing with a down payment assistance program, there's an extra layer on top of that.
It going from one person and then it going to another person, and then basically at that point, once we got in the mortgage process, then NACA was basically the middleman between me and the loan company. So I wasn't prepared for things like that.
So when you're working with NACA, you as an agent have to be certified in order to assist the NACA buyers. And when you get into escrow, the title company or the escrow officer needs to also be NACA certified. On top of that, your home inspector needs to be NACA certified. And this brought up a lot of challenges for the whole process.
The first home inspector was like, oh wait, he's not NACA approved. And then it was, oh wait, we need a pest inspection also. So then we find one. And then when we find him, he says, oh yeah, we could do it. She don't gotta be here. We could just do a picture later. Then I was still on vacation. He comes back and was like, nah, we can't do that. She actually got to be here. So I think I got off the plane on a Wednesday, and Thursday we did the inspection. There were a few things that did come back, and we thought, we're gonna have to be repaired, but they didn't have to be repaired, and they weren't any, hazardous or dangerous type things. They were merely cosmetic.
So we know that right now it's a seller's market. And we already know that buyers are overbidding on every home. But what happens when the appraisal comes back short? Right now, what every sellers are doing is they're expecting buyers to come out of pocket the difference in cash. This is my first time buying a home, right? So I didn't know what it meant. I was like, hey, could you look at this? I think that this is what this says, but am I reading this right? Does this really come back, for this amount? And I wasn't 100% understanding of, what my loan amount would actually be or how I was supposed to come up with the difference. So I really didn't know. And I was so naive and just unaware, uneducated, that they had the option. The seller at that point had the option to call it off. I didn't know that. Not being a first-time home buyer, I just thought whatever the home appraised as, that's what it was. I hadn't even looked at or thought about the idea of a home being appraised other than the reason of selling. As a buyer, I was totally naive to the fact that my home would need to be appraised. After that phone call, really, to be really, really honest with you, Chia, I prayed about it, and I just said, I cannot stress about it, because if I stress about it, I'll go bonkers. I'll go crazy. So really, for real, I legit prayed about it, and I said, I remember telling you at first, no, I'm not coming up with nothing else. Like, it is what it is. At this point, I knew I had to put my negotiations hat on. This was a $20,000 price gap difference that Brandy would have to come in, and I wasn't about to have her do that. So with a lot of going back and forth with the seller's agent, we got the deal. We got the sellers to agree to a price reduction of $20,000. $20,000 in this market. And just when we thought it couldn't get any worse, more delays.
I feel like it put NACA and the Sacramento office at a disadvantage because of the pandemic and because they are short-staffed. So basically, my NACA counselor was servicing all of Northern California, which my God, like California as a whole is already huge. And then Northern California, like for one person to handle, I can understand that that was a lot. Towards the end of the transaction, I definitely felt her and I saw her, doing what it is that she needed to do in order to get things done. But then there was the Bank of America piece where it was, I didn't have a direct contact with Bank of America. So where I could just upload my documents to them, it wasn't that. So that was extremely frustrating. So my original deposit was in jeopardy because we were coming up against the contingency time frame.
In a home buying transaction, there's normally 3 contingencies that protects a buyer's deposit. And when all 3 of those contingencies are removed, your deposit becomes at risk. With all of these delays that were going on, these contingencies were running out. And in order for us to be able to extend and get more time from the sellers without them canceling, we had to remove contingencies. That was when the pressure started kicking in. I remember I would call and text her like every hour checking in, and she would do the same back because we had to get this done. We had to, or else she loses her deposit.
Every time that there was a hurdle or every time that there was a bump in the road, I think that you and I communicated very, very well. Like I've told you before, you always made me feel like I was your only client. And I know that that wasn't the case, but you always communicated. If I called you and you didn't answer, you always shot me a text, hey, can't talk right now, give me a minute or whatever. So I attribute any of the extensions that were found, all of that, I attribute all of that to you. And I was so extremely thankful that you were communicating how you did. And I really feel like our communication throughout the entire time. I would shoot you a screenshot and say, hey, this is where we are now. Hey, this is what's going on. But I feel like that gave you ammo to go back to the seller and say, no, really, like, we're not playing. We're not pulling your leg. Here's where we are in the process. And it should only be this much longer, or it should only be this amount of time. And I feel like once we got to that point, I feel like we were great.
During this time, I was super frustrated with all of the delays. Let's just call it that. I would be on the phone every day with the seller's agent, letting him know our current situation, being completely transparent. I made a huge gamble, and I told her, we have to release your deposit. That's the only way we could get the sellers to agree to give us more time, just so that we could buy more time to get this thing closed, so that Brandon could get her keys.
Even when it came down time for the closing, I was supposed to sign at one place, but nobody had any communication, nobody had anything. So the day before, I reached out to you like, hey, what's good? And you were able to say, we need answers, and we need answers today. And I think within an hour or two, we had a time, we had a location, we had all of those things. So I feel like, again, all of that was all attributed to you. You knew what to ask for. You knew exactly what to do. You knew exactly what to say. If it was not for you, I don't think I would have been able to go through this process with anybody else, because they would have had me stressed out.
Through it all, I am just so grateful that I was finally able to deliver her keys to her first home.
When I got the keys to the home, to our house, I was like, this cannot be real. Like, is this really happening? Pinch me. Like, this has to be a dream. But ultimately, it gave me so much pride. It gave me such a sense of accomplishment. To be able to go through the process, and not just a regular process, but to go through the NACA qualification process, as well as actually doing it. But I don't know. It was just something about being able to complete this task. And this task was like a major lifelong dream. It's the American dream, right? To own a home and to have home ownership. So it gave me a huge sense of accomplishment and pride. I have 3 girls, and they felt like, we got a new house. Like, this is our house. We could paint the walls. We could do whatever we want to do. And to give them that, I can show them, from an earlier age, what wasn't taught to me about generational wealth and, what it is to be an owner. You don't have to rent all of your life. Even if your circumstances are not the best, there are definitely programs out there that can help you and assist you for your dream to become a reality. Because this has always been an investment idea to me, and creating residual income, as well as creating generational wealth for my kids, I know that I won't be selling this home. So as of right now, my plan is to be here for the 5 years, and then after the 5 years, my baby girls will be a little older, and hopefully by that time my family has expanded a little more, and so we'll be looking into our forever home. Whatever I decided to do, like, the ball at that point would literally be in my court. There's so many different options. If I had to do it differently, I think that I would have saved more money. I know that I mentioned my nephew being sick, and at that point I was feeling frustrated just in the overall process, just because we were actively putting in offers, we were actively doing this. So I had a huge savings. Then when my nephew got sick, I dipped into that savings, and I dipped. On top of that, I went on a vacation. I was saying that I wasn't gonna go on the vacation. So I think just being practical, being wise, and not being an emotional thinker. Like, although I was able to hold my composure throughout the process, internally, other things outside of external factors other than the process kind of made me be an emotional spender. And I'm probably sure that the stress of looking for a house, didn't make it any better. But I feel like I would have saved, I would not have touched the money that I had planned just for the home. I would say to any first-time home buyer is to be organized. with all of your documentation. Whether you're going through a third party, program like NACA or any of the other first time homebuyer programs, I would say be prepared to pull out whatever document it is that they ask for. So I would say be extremely organized. I would say absolutely have an open line of communication, literally an open line of communication. Your lender is gonna know everything about you by the time that it's all said and done. So be open and honest about everything. By the time that you get your pre-approval, don't add no additional, debt. Don't do anything. Keep everything kosher until you close on your home. And when you get your keys, bring your credit card. Be merry. But in the process, have an open line of communication and be organized and have an open mind. I think that was the biggest part for me, was having an open mind. I talked to somebody else that had purchased a home and they said, oh, well, I was looking in this area, but I kind of opened my mind up. And I feel like me opening my mind up, I found a hidden jewel and we are now calling it our home. And I think that if I was just so complacent on living in a certain area, I would have missed out on this huge blessing. And this house was absolutely a blessing to me. The way everything went from start to finish, this was an absolute blessing for us.
If you made it this far, I just want to thank you so much for listening and watching Brandy's story. This is an inspiring story, no doubt. And if you felt the same way, make sure you hit the like button on this video. And if you're not part of the Chi fams yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel to be part of that family. If you want to watch more videos that are similar to this, click on either one of these to listen to another story. And I think I'm done talking, so I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.